Is the Canon RF28 70 f2.0 the best all-around portrait lens? Let's find out. All right, when it comes to portrait lenses, we all want the best, and let's be honest with each other. We spend a ton of money on gear. When it comes to traveling light, moving quickly, we can't always switch lenses. So what's the best lens to have on our camera to give us the most versatility? Well, I'm gonna make the argument, you may not agree with me, let me know down in the comments, that the 2870 is the best all-around lens. First up, the reason I would argue is versatility. So with a focal range from 28 to 70, it allows you some room to zoom in and zoom out on that image, right? So when we're working with prime lenses, of course, you're your own zoom lens, right? You're a human zoom. You've got to move up, you've got to move back, and sometimes it's just not practical in spaces. So you want a little bit more of a wider lens, and that 28mm at the wider end is a good focal length without creating too much skew, right? If you go to a 1535 at 15mm or 1635, things start really skewing on the edge of the frame, right? So if you're doing fashion with a model, the feet will start looking larger. If you're doing anything with architecture, right, the lines won't be straight and there'll start being some skew on the building. And of course, sure, you can fix this in post-production, but it's a bit of a nightmare. It's not what you want to do. At 28mm, the RF keeps things pretty dang straight. Now, on the zoom side of things at 70mm, right? It's not zooming into an 85, which is typically the portrait focal length you like to work at, but 70 is pretty good. And what this allows you to do, of course, is Canon is giving you that f2 focal range. And at f2, this is an extremely fast lens. Most of those lenses were at f2.8. And so while it may not be giving you a whole bunch more wiggle room, it is giving you more shallow depth of field. And that creates a nice look. So if you're outside, if you're in a park, those trees are gonna go a little blurrier. If you're in a dark church, right? Maybe you're a wedding photographer shooting portraits, shooting the bride come down the aisle, that's going to give you a little bit extra light so you can back off your ISO. So this particular lens, I would make the argument, has a lot of versatility in that it's fast, but it's also a zoom at the same time. Second, sharpness. Without a doubt, the RF platform has produced some of the sharpest glass on the market. I don't care who you are, I don't care what platform you're on. Even the prior EF series from Canon, the RF glass is the sharpest there is, even wide open. That's one of the things I've noticed, that with the at f2 or f1.2 on some of their prime lenses, the glass is tack sharp, and that is impressive. Now, one of the reasons is because it's mirrorless now. So you don't have that same vibration, you don't have the same distance from the lens to the sensor, right? You don't have that single lens reflex, right? So all these things are gone as we are into the mirrorless body systems. And I think that's good for photography in general. And so sharpness, check. This lens has got it. Bokeh, however you choose to say it. I'm not here to judge you, but at the end of the day, at f2, you're gonna get that super shallow depth of field. Now, is it as shallow as 1.2? Of course not. But I tell you what, at 2870, this is a large lens and it's got some weight to it. So it's not for the faint of heart. And the reason it's got that weight to it is because it's at f2, right? So it has to be able to open super wide. Now, on the prime lenses, because it's not a telephoto, you don't have to have glass that's necessarily that big or bulky. But again, then you don't have that versatility. So of course, if you have an 85mm 1.2 or 50mm 1.2, you're gonna get more of that bokeh, that shallow depth of field, but it comes at a cost, right? You don't have that telephoto. So once again, we're trying to look at what is the best all-around portrait lens. And so far, I'm not talking myself out of this. I think we're still heading in the right direction. We got 3 checks here. Fourth up, autofocus. Now, I don't know if this is a lens thing, a camera body thing, or a combination of the two, but this 2870 focuses fast, right? So if you've used glass in the past, we call it hunting. It's hunting for focus. It takes time for everything to turn to get to focus, right? If you're going from a subject that's closer to further, it's just kind of this like, you just wait and forget, or at least it feels that way. This is fast, right? So if you're doing sports photography, things like that, it is going to capture your subject fast and get to focused fast. And then finally, build quality. Their L series glass is their Pro series lenses, right? So this is quality build, it's heavy, it's durable, it's gonna take the travel and impact of moving around, like, you know, don't throw it out of a moving car. I don't think it's going to hold up to that. But it's weather sealed. So these are the kind of things that you're looking for when you make an investment in your glass. Now, keep in mind, L series glass is more expensive than maybe some third-party glass or some other non-L series glass from Canon. But while it is more expensive, I can tell you that over time, while you may replace your camera bodies, you're not going to replace your lenses as often, right? Because that glass will last you. So make that investment in glass, whatever company you're with. Buy as much glass as you can afford, right? And I mean that. I get nothing out of it. I think that's an important piece of advice for any up-and-coming photographer to know, like, hey, I'd rather hold off on buying new glass until I can afford, right, a piece of glass that I don't have to go buy it again in a year, because this stuff will last you. So I don't know what you think about this, but you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna put it to the test, and we're gonna do some shooting, and we're gonna see what we're gonna get with this lens, and see if I can impress you or not. All right, so that's a wrap, guys. That is the photo shoot. Hope you kind of like what you see. Let me know down in the comments, but let me know if I've convinced you that this 2870 could be arguably the best all-around portrait lens. We'll see you in the next video.